20 experts failed to diagnose the CEO's daughter. 6 months of scans, consults, and confident verdicts that turned into silence. Then, a second-year Army resident saw one detail in plain sight, and the whole case shifted from mystery to threat. It's 0200 at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio. The halls glow cold under fluorescent lights, smelling of antiseptic and burnt coffee. In room 304, Savannah Caldwell lies motionless while her father stands watch in a wrinkled suit bargaining with God like he's closing a deal. Outside the glass, Lieutenant Dr. Maya Reed studies a chart thick as a classified file and spots a pattern on Savannah's nails that doesn't belong in any normal story. Stay to the end, and you'll learn how small clues, bias, and chain of command can decide who lives. If you're watching, like the video and comment your city. The alarm's scream did not fade so much as it changed pitch from panic to procedure, from fear to muscle memory. People moved with the same ruthless coordination Maya had seen on field exercises, except the target here was a 17-year-old girl whose body kept trying to quit. Inside room 304, the air turned dense with the sharp bite of antiseptic and the heat of too many bodies. A respiratory therapist snapped a mask into place. A nurse drew up medication with hands that did not shake. Colonel Mercer's voice cut through everything clipped and controlled. 2 milligrams now. Get suction. Keep her airway clear. Savannah Caldwell's back arched as if someone had pulled a wire through her spine. Her teeth clenched. Her fingers curled, then spread, then curled again, fighting a storm nobody could see. The monitor threw jagged lines across the screen. Maya felt the old reflex from training, the one that made fear a secondary concern. She stepped toward the bed, eyes scanning for tasks. Mercer did not look at her. He did not have to. Lieutenant Reed, he said, and the syllables were a restraint. Out. Maya hesitated just long enough to catch the faint mark on Savannah's wrist again beneath the plastic band. A pinpoint bruise, fresh, clean, too precise to be a random bump against a railing. Her gaze snapped to the chart clipped at the foot of the bed, to the medication log on the screen, to the nurse documenting in real time. Nothing. No note. No order. No reason. Out, Mercer repeated. And this time it carried the kind of finality that ended arguments in the desert. Maya stepped back into the hallway as the door pulled shut behind her. The glass panel turned the chaos into a silent film. She could still see Mercer's hands steady, as if he had been born with them, already knowing what to do. She could see Savannah's father pressed against the far wall, like a man trying not to fall through it. Grant Caldwell's face had the gray cast of someone who had not slept in days. His suit was expensive, but it was wrinkled at the elbows and collar, as if he had worn it through too many nights in the same chair. When the seizure hit, his composure broke. He slammed a palm against the wall, not in anger, but in helplessness, and mouthed something Maya could not hear. A pair of security officers stood near him. They wore the neutral expressions of people trained to be present without being personal. One of them shifted slightly to block Caldwell's path toward the bed when he tried to step forward. "Sir, please," the officer said. And though Maya could not hear the words, she could read the shape of them. Caldwell's shoulders sagged in defeat. He nodded a motion too small for how much it cost him and stayed where he was. Maya watched Savannah's hands. Even through the glass and motion blur, the pale bands across her nails were visible, like faint chalk lines marking time. She imagined the months, the dosing, the steady accumulation. The human body as a battlefield that did not announce when it was being infiltrated. A nurse brushed past Maya in the hallway carrying a metal tray and a bag of tubing. She glanced at the window and shook her head, then kept moving. It was a normal reaction, the kind that said this hospital had seen too many tragedies to pause for all of them. Maya forced herself to breathe. She pressed her thumb against the edge of her own badge, grounding herself in cold metal and accountability. A few minutes later, the frantic motion inside the room slowed. Mercer's shoulders loosened. Someone wiped Savannah's forehead. The monitor's rhythm softened into something fragile but consistent. The door opened. Mercer stepped out first. His sleeves were rolled to his forearms. His hands were clean, but the skin along his knuckles was slightly red from pressure. He did not look at Maya. He looked down the corridor, already calculating phone calls, reports, documentation. Status, he asked, and a nurse answered without missing a beat. Seizure terminated. Vitals stabilizing. She is not responsive yet. Mercer nodded. His eyes finally found Maya, and in them was not anger in the usual sense. It was something colder, a controlled displeasure meant to correct behavior. Walk, he said. Maya followed him down the corridor, matching his pace. Staff parted for him the way they parted for ranking officers, instinctively without thinking. The hospital itself seemed built for it, wide hallways and locked doors and signage that assumed people understood who had authority here. They reached a door marked with a nameplate and rank. Mercer keyed in a code and stepped inside. Maya entered behind him. His office felt less like a doctor's space and more like a command center. There were framed deployment photos on the wall, a flag folded in a triangle on a shelf, a stack of binders labeled with unit designations and dates. On the desk, a phone with multiple lines blinked with missed calls. Mercer shut the door. "What exactly do you think you are doing?" he asked. Maya's mouth went dry. She stood at attention without realizing it, posture straightening under the weight of his presence. "Sir," she began, "I was reviewing Savannah Caldwell's chart. I noticed a pattern in her nails. Maze lines. The spacing is consistent with repeated exposure, not a single incident." Mercer moved behind his desk, not to hide, but to anchor himself behind something solid. He did not sit. He leaned forward, hands on the surface, as if he could physically hold the situation in place. "Mace lines can be a dozen things," he said. "Trauma, illness, malnutrition, chemotherapy. They can be meaningless. In her case, they are not random," Maya said, and heard the insistence in her own voice. "It was a risk. They are evenly spaced. That means timing. That means something recurring." Mercer's gaze sharpened. "You were in my ICU doorway, staring at her hands while my team was stopping a seizure. I saw something else," Maya said before she could stop herself. The words pushed past her training. "A fresh injection site under her wristband that is not documented in the chart." For a fraction of a second, Mercer's expression shifted. Not surprise exactly, but irritation at being forced to consider something outside the approved narrative. "You accused someone of accessing a distinguished visitor patient without documentation," he said. "Do you understand what you just implied in a United States Army medical center?" Maya swallowed. "I'm saying there is a discrepancy," she said. "And the symptoms fit metal toxicity better than anything else in her workup." Mercer's jaw flexed. 20 consultants, he said, and the number came out like a gavel. Neurology, infectious disease, toxicology, genetics, psychiatry. Civilian experts flown in on federal contracts. They did not miss poisoning. Maya held her ground. "They ran routine screens," she said. "If the exposure is to something not included, or if it is administered slowly enough, it can evade standard testing. Some metals do not show unless you specifically look for them. Copper is one of them." Mercer's eyes narrowed at the specificity, as if he had just watched her step onto a minefield. "You are a resident," he said. "Your job is to learn not to audition for hero status." "It is not about hero status," Maya said. "It is about a dying patient." Mercer's phone rang. He did not take his eyes off her as he reached for it. He listened for 3 seconds, then ended the call without speaking. He pointed at the blinking light on his phone. "That is the office of a senator," he said. "Another line is the hospital commander. Another is the Caldwell family liaison. This case is a national incident in miniature. A defense industry CEO, a minor child, media pressure outside the gates and federal attention inside them." Maya felt the walls tighten around her. "You want to accuse someone in my building of poisoning a distinguished visitor without proof. Mercer continued. You want to compromise trust in this hospital based on an observation that cannot stand in court, cannot stand in command review, cannot stand in the real world where accountability has consequences. Maya's throat tightened. She could feel the argument slipping away from science and into politics and power. Give me permission to run a targeted panel, she said. One test, specific, comprehensive metals including copper. If I am wrong, you can write me up, remove me, do whatever you need. Mercer's expression did not soften. His voice did not rise. That was worse. Denied, he said. Maya stared at him stunned. Sir, she began again. Mercer raised a hand. You are reassigned off the Caldwell case effective immediately, he said. You will complete the remainder of your rotation in outpatient clinic. You will not speak to Mr. Caldwell. You will not discuss your suspicions with staff. You will not create noise around a family already drowning in it. Maya felt heat rush to her face. Outpatient clinic. It might as well have been exile. She does not have time, Maya said, and hated how desperate she sounded. Mercer's eyes held hers for a long moment. In that look was something almost human, a flicker of the physician behind the officer. Then it vanished under discipline. Lieutenant, he said, quieter now. I know you care, but caring does not give you authority. Sometimes our job is to accept uncertainty without turning it into a conspiracy. Maya's hands clenched at her side. Dismissed, Mercer said. She turned and walked out before she could say something that would end her career completely. The hallway felt longer on the way out. The fluorescent lights seemed harsher, as if they had become aware of her failure and decided to punish her with brightness. Her boots sounded too loud. Every step echoed like a mistake. She stopped near the window of room 304 again, not because she wanted to disobey, but because her eyes were pulled there like a magnet. Inside, Savannah lay still sedated now, her chest rising and falling in shallow, obedient motions. A ventilator tube sat at the corner of her mouth. Her hair was damp along her forehead. She looked younger than 17, reduced by illness to something fragile and unfinished. Grant Caldwell sat in the chair by the bed elbows on knees, hands clasped together so tight his knuckles were white. He stared at his daughter's face as if his gaze could hold her in place. A nurse moved quietly at the IV pole, checking lines and bags, adjusting a drip with practiced precision. She was calm, almost gentle. Her hair was pulled back neatly. Her posture was composed. If Maya had not been looking for shadows, she would have seen only competence. The nurse glanced toward the window. For a second, her eyes met Maya's. She smiled. Warm, professional, perfect. Then she turned back to the IV without missing a beat. Maya stepped away from the window, unsettled by a smile that felt like it belonged in a different scene. Outpatient clinic the next day was a different planet. There were no alarms, no rushed footsteps, no closed-door briefings with command rank hanging in the air. There were families with coughs and sprained ankles, soldiers with knee pain, retirees with medication refills. The work mattered, but it did not claw at the edge of death the way the ICU did. It did not demand midnight miracles. Maya moved through appointments like she was underwater. She answered politely. She listened. She wrote notes. Her hands did what her training required while her mind stayed in room 304. Between patients, she caught herself staring at her phone at the time, at the idea of Savannah's body deteriorating while she adjusted blood pressure meds for someone she would never see again. At lunch, she sat alone in a corner of the cafeteria. The room smelled of fried food and institutional coffee. Televisions mounted on the wall played muted news, scrolling headlines that had nothing to do with her. She opened her notebook and wrote 2 words without thinking. Copper. Pattern. She drew the faint bands of Mies lines like a timeline. She wrote down the seizure, the liver enzymes, the neurosymptoms, the psychiatric changes buried in consult notes, the 6-month decline with no answer. She wrote down the injection mark. Then she stopped and stared at the page pen hovering because what she was doing felt dangerously close to the thing Mercer had accused her of. Playing detective. Making a story where there might only be tragedy. She closed the notebook, then opened it again. Her hands did not seem to agree with the command to stop. That afternoon, she returned to the main hospital under the excuse of dropping off a file. She kept her head down. She avoided the ICU corridor, knowing cameras existed in places you stopped noticing, knowing someone like Mercer would have no trouble pulling access logs if he wanted to make an example of her. Still, her feet carried her closer. Not to room 304, not directly, just near. Near enough to hear the faint chorus of monitors and the hush of urgent voices. At a staff station, 2 nurses spoke in low tones. "Caldwell's still here," one said. "Haven't seen him leave. He's got security in the hall like he's expecting an assassination attempt." The other nurse snorted softly, not amused. "Maybe he is," she said. "If my kid was dying and no one could tell me why, I would start suspecting everybody too." Maya paused, heart-thudding, and forced herself to keep walking. In the corridor, outside the ICU, she saw Grant Caldwell again. He stood near a vending machine that looked absurdly normal in a place like this. He stared at the snacks behind the glass as if he had forgotten what food was. A security officer stood a few steps away, pretending to be invisible. Grant turned his head slightly, and his gaze landed on Maya. Recognition flashed. His expression tightened with purpose. Maya's pulse jumped. Mercer's order rang in her ears. "Do not speak to him." Grant took one step toward her. Maya turned away before he could close the distance. Her boots moved faster than her dignity. She rounded a corner and ducked into a stairwell, pressing her back against the cool cinder block wall. Her chest rose and fell too quickly. She felt ridiculous, like she was hiding from a patient's father as if he were the enemy. Footsteps sounded outside the stairwell door. One set, then another. Then silence. She waited, listening for the click of a latch, the scrape of a boot. Nothing. After a full minute, she pushed the door open. The hallway was empty. Maya exhaled slowly and walked back toward the clinic wing, forcing herself to look normal. But normal felt like a costume. Her mind kept replaying the smile on the nurse's face, the precise movement of her hands at the IV pole, the way she had looked at Maya through the glass, as if she already knew what Maya was thinking. That evening, Maya sat on the edge of her apartment bed with her laptop open. The screen light painted her hands ghostly pale. The apartment smelled faintly of laundry detergent and old takeout, a small civilian reality perched on the edge of a military base. She searched for mace lines again, even though she knew what she would find. She searched for metal poisoning presentations that mimicked genetic disorders. She searched for copper toxicity case reports in clinical journals and found enough to make her stomach turn. Copper could hide. Copper could accumulate. Copper could ruin a body in a way that looked like bad luck until someone asked the right question. She tried to convince herself that Mercer was right, that she was seeing patterns because she wanted to matter, that she was building an enemy because the alternative was accepting that Savannah was dying for no reason. Then she remembered the injection mark. Maya closed her eyes and pictured it. Fresh, pinpoint, wrong place. The kind of mark you saw when someone knew exactly where to put a needle. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single text message appeared on the screen. "Parking garage level 3, 5 minutes. Come alone. Grant Caldwell." Grant Caldwell's text sat on Maya's screen like a dare written in clean ink. "Parking garage level 3, 5 minutes. Come alone." Maya stared at it until the letters blurred, then cleared again. Her apartment was quiet in the way military housing got quiet after lights out, as if the walls themselves knew to keep secrets. She checked the time, slid her phone into her pocket, and stood. The mirror by the door caught her face for half a second. She looked like she had not slept. She looked like she was already guilty. Outside, the air was warm and thick with Texas humidity. The base felt calmer at night, but not softer. Cameras watched. Gates counted cars. Rules lived in the concrete. She drove without music. At every light, her mind tried to talk her out of it. Colonel Mercer's voice replayed with perfect clarity. "You will not speak to Mr. Caldwell." She turned into the parking structure anyway. Level 1 smelled like exhaust and hot rubber. Level 2 was emptier. Level 3 was almost silent, just the low hum of lights and the distant clank of a cart somewhere below. Her footsteps sounded too loud as she walked, badge turned inward against her shirt like that would make her invisible. Grant Caldwell was waiting by a black SUV with dark windows and government plates. The vehicle looked like it belonged to someone who never waited for permission. Tonight, he was standing alone, no security detail, no assistants, no entourage to absorb the fear for him. He was taller up close. Not just height, but presence. Even exhausted, he looked like a man used to rooms making space when he entered. Yet his hands gave him away. They were clasped, tight fingers interlocked as if he was holding himself together piece by piece. He did not waste time. "You came," he said. Maya stopped a few feet away. She kept her voice low. "I should not be here. I know what Mercer told you," Caldwell said. His eyes were red at the rims but sharp. "He thinks you are chasing a story." Maya's jaw tightened. "He thinks I am a resident trying to play hero." Caldwell's mouth twitched, not quite a smile, not quite bitterness. "Hero is the last thing I need," he said. "I need my daughter alive." Maya looked past him at the empty rows of concrete. She noticed the lack of cameras on this level, or at least the lack of visible ones. He had chosen this place on purpose. "I can't order anything," she said. "I can't access her care. I can't even look at her chart without risking my commission." "I am not asking you to order anything," Caldwell said. He reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. His hand shook once, then steadied. He swiped and held up a photo. Savannah, laughing, hair pulled back, cheeks flushed from sunlight. A cupcake in one hand, someone's arm around her shoulders. It looked like a normal teenage moment that had no idea it was about to become priceless. "That was 3 months before she got sick," Caldwell said quietly. "That kid in the bed is not my daughter. Not anymore." Maya felt something tighten in her chest. She had seen patients decline. She had seen trauma. She had seen disease shred bodies like paper. But this was different. This was slow. This was confusion stretched across months. Caldwell lowered the phone. 20 experts, he said. 20 people with titles longer than their patients. And every week they tell me the same thing. Another scan, another panel, another consult. Then they shrug and walk away like my kid is a puzzle they are tired of. Maya kept her hands at her sides, forcing herself not to reach for the phone, not to touch the proof he carried like a wound. "I saw your face," Caldwell continued, "when you looked at that chart. You did not look confused. You looked like you recognized something." Maya inhaled slowly. "I recognized a pattern," she said. "Patterns can be misleading." "You do not believe that," Caldwell said. Maya held his gaze. She could see the father in him, the part that had run out of polite fear and reached for something sharper. He was not asking for certainty. He was asking for a chance. In medicine, Maya said a lot of cases fail because nobody wants to be the first one to say the scary idea out loud. Caldwell stepped closer by a foot. His voice dropped. "Say it." Maya's mouth went dry. "I think there is a possibility she is being exposed to something over time," she said. "A substance that is not showing up on routine testing. Something that can mimic other diseases." Caldwell's face hardened. "Poison." Maya did not confirm it with a dramatic word. She confirmed it with a smaller one, the one doctors used when they were trying not to cause panic. Exposure. He exhaled through his nose, as if he had been holding his breath for months without realizing it. "And the mark," Caldwell said. "The one you mentioned." Maya's eyes flicked toward his wrist, then back to his face. "I saw a fresh injection site under her wristband," Maya said. "It did not match what I would expect from routine lines. I looked for documentation. I did not find it." Caldwell's jaw clenched. He looked away for a second, not to hide emotion, but to control it. "Somebody touched my kid," he said, "and nobody wrote it down." Maya heard the steel in his voice now, the kind that built companies and moved contracts. It was also the kind that could burn a hospital down with lawsuits if it had the right fuel. Mercer was not wrong to fear the political side of this case, but politics did not stop seizures. "I need to be clear," Maya said. "If we do anything outside the hospital system, it can have legal consequences. It can compromise evidence. It can hurt her care if it delays real treatment. It can destroy my career." Caldwell's eyes did not blink. "My daughter is dying," he said. "That is already destroying everything." Maya looked at the SUV at the dark windows. She could feel the weight of the base around them. The Army did not reward improvisation when lives were on the line. It rewarded obedience. Still, she could not shake the image of Savannah's fingernails. The pale bands were not a symptom you could argue away. They were time itself written in keratin. "What exactly do you want from me?" Maya asked. Caldwell answered like he had rehearsed it. "Tell me what to test," he said. "I will pay. I will find a lab. I will sign whatever I can sign as her father." Maya frowned. "You can consent to testing," she said. "But samples have to be obtained appropriately, not stolen from a hospital lab, not taken without documentation, not handled like contraband." Caldwell's eyes flashed. "So what do we do?" he asked. Maya thought fast and controlled. This was the part where a thriller turned into a tragedy if someone made a sloppy choice. "She is getting blood drawn anyway," Maya said. "Routine labs. If you consent as her legal guardian, you can request an extra tube for outside testing. It has to be collected by authorized staff. It has to be labeled. It has to be handed to you properly." Caldwell's posture shifted slightly as if a door had opened. "And hair," Maya added. "If this is chronic exposure, hair can show it. If you can get a hair sample without harming her, without making it obvious, that helps. And anything she consumes. Supplements, drinks, powders, anything coming in from outside." Caldwell nodded, absorbing it like a briefing. "I can do that," he said. Maya studied him for a beat. He was desperate, but he was not careless. Desperation made people unpredictable. This man's desperation made him focused. "There is one more thing," Maya said. Caldwell waited. "If this is deliberate," Maya said, "then whoever is doing it has access. Regular access. That means we need to think like security, not just medicine." Caldwell's eyes narrowed. "Access," he repeated. "Visitors. Visitors," Maya confirmed. "Staff. Anyone who can touch what goes into her body. Anyone who can be alone with her." Caldwell's gaze drifted for a second, as if he was looking through a list in his head. "My wife," he said, then corrected himself quickly. "My current wife. Natalie. She visits most days. My daughter's assistant Brooke brings things from home. Smoothies, vitamins, whatever wellness trend the internet is selling this week. And her boyfriend. Tyler. He comes after class." Maya listened, making no faces. Her mind flagged each name as a point on a map. "And you," Maya said. Caldwell's expression tightened. "I am there whenever they let me," he said. "They treat me like a risk because of the media. Like I am the threat." Maya nodded once. "What about staff?" she asked. "Anyone who is always present. Anyone unusually attentive." Caldwell did not hesitate. "Her nurse," he said. "Erin Whitaker." Maya felt the name land with weight. She had seen the nurse by the IV pole. She had felt unsettled by the smile. "Tell me about her," Maya said. Caldwell's voice softened and sharpened at the same time, torn between gratitude and suspicion. "She has been with Savannah since admission," he said. 6 months. Every time I walk in, she is there. Even when she is off duty, sometimes I find her in the room like she never leaves. She talks to Savannah like she is family." Maya kept her tone neutral. "Does she bring anything?" Maya asked. "Food, supplements, anything not ordered by a physician." Caldwell's eyes flicked. "She talks about keeping Savannah's strength up," he said. "She likes those smoothies the assistant brings. She once told Natalie a mineral supplement could help with fatigue." It sounded harmless. Maya felt a chill. "Do you know where the supplement came from?" she asked. Caldwell shook his head. "No," he said, "but I can find it." Maya looked down at the concrete floor. She pictured the nurse's hand on the IV bag. Quick. Practiced. confident. She lifted her eyes again. "Do not confront her," Maya said. Caldwell's face tightened. "I want to," he admitted. "If you confront her and she is innocent, you burn a bridge," Maya said. "If you confront her and she is guilty, she disappears. Either way, you lose information." Caldwell's breathing was shallow now. He nodded, not because he liked it, but because he understood. Maya checked her phone. The time, the risk. Every minute she spent here was another minute she could be noticed. "If you can get the extra blood tube during her next draw," Maya said, "and a hair sample and the supplement, I can guide you on what to test." "I cannot sign anything. I cannot appear on paperwork." Caldwell's eyes sharpened. "You are asking me to carry the risk," he said. "I'm asking you to protect your daughter without destroying evidence," Maya said. Caldwell looked at her for a long moment, then nodded again. "Service entrance on the south side," he said. "There is a door by the loading bay. Less traffic. We can meet there." Maya felt the base closing around her again, cameras and badge readers and policies that could crush a person for less than this. "Tomorrow night," Caldwell said. Maya did not answer with a promise. She answered with a condition. "Act normal," she said. "Do not change your routine. Do not whisper with staff. Do not start watching people like a hunter. She will notice." Caldwell's lips pressed together. "My daughter is dying," he said again, as if the words could excuse anything. Maya's voice stayed steady. "My commission is not what matters," she said. "But if I am removed from this hospital entirely, I cannot help you at all. That matters." Caldwell's gaze softened for the first time. "Understood," he said. Maya stepped back, turning toward the stairwell. "Lieutenant Reed Caldwell said," and the formal title sounded strange in his mouth, like he was trying to speak the language of the building that had taken his daughter hostage. Maya paused. "Thank you," he said. Maya did not respond. Gratitude was dangerous. It made choices feel noble instead of reckless. She pushed through the stairwell door and let it close behind her. The next day moved like a slow march. In outpatient clinic, Maya kept her face neutral and her hand steady. She examined the soldiers with tendinitis. She listened to an older retiree describe dizziness. She wrote prescriptions. She smiled when appropriate. Inside her mind, tracked time the way it tracked vital signs. At noon, she checked her phone and saw nothing. At 1500, still nothing. At 1800, a text arrived. "Got it, tonight." Maya stared at the message. Her pulse jumped. She typed back a single word. "Where?" "South Service Door, 20 minutes." Maya finished her last patient, filed her notes, and left the clinic with the same outward calm she would use to walk into an operating room. The difference was that in an operating room, her actions would be expected. Here they were forbidden. She took the longer route through the hospital, the one with more doors and fewer eyes. She avoided the ICU corridor entirely. She passed posters about patient privacy and security protocols. Each one felt like a warning written directly to her. At the loading bay, the air smelled of cardboard and diesel. A forklift beeped somewhere deeper in the dock area. The service door was metal scuffed with a keypad and a small camera above it. The camera did not point directly at the door. It pointed just enough to make people behave. Maya waited in the shadow beside a stack of supply boxes. Grant Caldwell appeared out of the dim light like a man who belonged to night missions, not corporate meetings. He carried a small cooler in one hand. The other hand held a paper bag folded tight at the top. His voice was quiet. "You were right," he said. Maya's throat tightened. "About what she asked." "About access," Caldwell said. "Whitaker was in the room when I got the blood tube." Maya's fingers flexed, then stilled. "How did you get it?" she asked. Caldwell's answer came fast. "Savannah had labs scheduled," he said. "I told the phlebotomist I wanted an extra tube for outside testing. I signed consent. She labeled it and handed it to me. Official collection. I did not steal anything." Maya exhaled slowly. "Good. That mattered more than Caldwell might ever understand." "And hair?" Maya asked. Caldwell lifted the paper bag. "A brush from home," he said. "Brooke brought it weeks ago." There was hair in it. I took what I could without making it obvious. He opened the cooler slightly. Inside, ice packs hugged a sealed specimen bag. A tube with a label. Another bag with a plastic bottle of supplements. Maya's eyes locked on the supplement bottle. The label was glossy, full of claims. Energy, immunity, mineral support. "Brooke brings these," Caldwell said. "She said it is part of Savannah's wellness routine." Whitaker asked about them. She encouraged them. Maya did not touch anything yet. She kept her hands visible as if the cooler might contain explosives. "Did you tell anyone?" Maya asked. Caldwell shook his head. "No," he said. "Not Natalie. Not Brooke. Not Tyler. Nobody." Maya nodded once. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small pair of disposable gloves. She slid them on, then carefully opened the cooler. She examined the blood tube label. Patient name. Date, time. Collector initials, it looked correct. She checked the seal on the specimen bag. "You did this right," she said. Caldwell's voice cracked slightly. "I am good at systems," he said. "I built my whole life on systems. This hospital is just another one." Maya looked up at him. "Systems can be exploited," she said. Caldwell's eyes hardened. "You think she knows?" he said. Maya did not answer immediately. She lifted the supplement bottle, turning it slowly. The cap was tight. The seal looked intact. That meant very little. People who wanted to harm did not always tamper with commercial packaging. Sometimes they added something somewhere else. "She watched you," Maya said quietly, choosing her words with care. "You said she was in the room." "Yes," Caldwell said. "She asked what the phlebotomist was doing. I told her we were just following routine." Maya's mind built the scene. Whitaker watching. Whitaker smiling. Whitaker filing it away. Maya returned the bottle to the cooler. "I need to run a comprehensive metals panel," she said. "Not just a standard tox screen. I need copper specifically. I need arsenic, lead, mercury. The lab has to know what to look for, or they will miss it." Caldwell's expression sharpened with the kind of focus he used in negotiations. "Tell me where," he said. Maya hesitated. Naming a lab felt like stepping from the edge into open air. Still, she had already stepped off the edge when she came to the garage. "There are private labs off base," she said. "Some will do targeted testing quickly if you pay. They will send results by email." Caldwell's eyes did not blink. "Money is not a problem," he said. Maya held his gaze. "Keep saying that, and you will get someone's attention," she said. "Do not talk like a billionaire. Talk like a father who wants answers." Caldwell's mouth tightened. He nodded. Maya looked past him toward the service corridor. A janitor pushed a cart at the far end, not looking up. The dock lights flickered once. "Do you have a place to store this cold?" Maya asked. Caldwell lifted the cooler slightly. "It stays with me," he said. "It has not left my hand since they gave it to me." Maya nodded. That was good too. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "One more thing," she said. "If this is deliberate, it may not be limited to your daughter." Caldwell's face went still. "What do you mean?" he asked. "I mean, if someone is doing this for a reason." Maya said they may have a reason connected to your family, not just Savannah. Caldwell's jaw tightened. His eyes went distant for a second, as if something old had surfaced. "My first wife," he said. The words came out like they hurt his mouth. "Elena." Maya watched him carefully. "She died 8 years ago." Caldwell continued. "Metastatic cancer, that is what the paperwork says." "And what does your memory say?" Maya asked. Caldwell looked away, then back. "My memory says the doctors never seemed sure," he said. "Treatments did not work. Symptoms did not fit cleanly. They kept adjusting the story to match the chart instead of matching the chart to her." Maya felt the hair on her arms lift. "Was Elena treated here?" Maya asked. Caldwell nodded once. "Yes," he said. BAMC. Same building, different wing, different time. Maya's mind connected the dots in silence. 2 women, same family, similar decline. 8 years apart. She did not say it aloud yet. Saying it aloud gave it weight that could collapse under its own pressure. Do you remember any staff from Elena's case? Maya asked. Caldwell's eyes narrowed. He searched his memory like a man scrolling through old files. There was a nurse, he said slowly. Young then, she was very dedicated, always in the room, always checking something. I remember thinking she cared more than anyone else. Maya's chest tightened. Do you remember her name? She asked. Caldwell shook his head. I can find it, he said, if the hospital lets me. Maya's mouth went thin. Hospitals had ways of locking memories behind policy. Try, Maya said. Quietly. Caldwell nodded. He looked down at the cooler, then back up. So what happens now? He asked. Maya did not answer with a plan laid out like a roadmap. She answered with what she could do in the next hour. We take these to a lab tonight, she said. You pay, you sign, you receive the results. You forward them to me. Caldwell's eyes tightened. And if the results show nothing, he asked. Maya kept her voice steady. Then we are wrong, she said, and we stop. Caldwell's throat moved as he swallowed. And if they show something, he asked. Maya looked toward the hospital wall, toward the invisible line between safety and threat. Then we act within the system, she said. We do it with evidence, we do it with security. We do it in a way that keeps your daughter alive. Caldwell nodded, but his eyes stayed hungry. I want to rip her out of that room, he said. I want to take her somewhere nobody can touch her. Maya believed him. She believed he might try. That could get Savannah killed in a different way. Do not move her, Maya said. Not yet. Moving a patient can do harm. It can also alert someone who is watching. Caldwell's face tightened. He did not like being told no, but he listened. What about Whitaker? He asked. Do we watch her? Do we report her? Maya looked straight at him. Not yet, she said. Suspicion without proof is a weapon that can swing both ways. Caldwell's eyes flashed. She is the one, he said, voice low. I can feel it. Maya did not argue with his instinct. She guided it. Act normal, she repeated. If you start treating her like an enemy, she will become an enemy openly. Keep her close without letting her know you are watching. Caldwell's breathing was shallow. He nodded again. His control was the only thing holding him upright. They moved together toward the SUV. Maya climbed into the passenger seat, feeling the leather and the quiet insulation from the outside world. Caldwell placed the cooler on the back seat like it was an organ waiting for transplant. As they drove off base, the guard at the gate glanced in, saw Caldwell, then waved them through with a quick scan. Money did not open that gate. Clearance did. Caldwell had both. The city outside the base was a spread of lights and dark highways. San Antonio at night felt wide and indifferent, as if it did not care what happened inside military walls. Caldwell drove fast, but not reckless. He kept both hands on the wheel. His eyes stayed locked on the road, but his voice stayed on his daughter. She crashed again today, he said suddenly. Maya's stomach tightened when she asked. An hour after your message, Caldwell said. Another seizure, another code team. Mercer stabilized her, but he looked tired. Maya pictured Mercer's steady hands, his controlled voice. Even the best hands could not stop what they could not identify. Caldwell's voice dropped. She asked for Whitaker earlier, he said. Even sedated, she kept whispering a name. The nurse leaned in like she was taking confession. Maya stared out the window, mind running. Did Whitaker say anything to you? Maya asked. Caldwell's jaw tightened. She told me Savannah reminded her of someone he said. She said she had seen this kind of suffering before. She said she would not let Savannah suffer. Maya felt cold spread through her chest. That is not a normal thing to say, she murmured. Caldwell glanced at her. It sounded like comfort, he said. Now it sounds like ownership. They turned into a strip mall parking lot. The lab did not look like a place that handled life and death. It looked like a place that handled paperwork. A small sign, a glass door, a dim waiting room with outdated magazines. Caldwell parked. He picked up the cooler with the careful grip of someone carrying a newborn. Inside, the air smelled like disinfectant and printer toner. A technician at the desk looked up, eyes flicking from Caldwell's expensive watch to Maya's military bearing. "How can we help?" the technician asked. Caldwell's voice was controlled. "Comprehensive metals panel," he said. "Expedited." The technician hesitated. For whom he asked. Caldwell did not glance at Maya. He answered with the clean authority of legal guardianship. "My daughter," he said. "I have consent." Maya watched the technician's face. Not suspicion exactly, more like calculation. "We can do blood and hair," the technician said. "Supplements can be analyzed too, but that is a different process." Caldwell nodded. "Do it," he said. The technician held out forms. Caldwell signed fast. Maya did not touch the pen. She did not want her fingerprints on anything official. The technician took the cooler and disappeared behind a door that clicked shut. Maya and Caldwell sat in the waiting room for a moment, staring at a muted television that played an infomercial. The normalcy felt insulting. Caldwell broke the silence. "You were right about one thing," he said. Maya looked at him. "This place does not feel like a hospital," Caldwell said. "It feels like a side door to truth." Maya did not answer. She watched the closed door, thinking about sealed records and quiet needles and smiles that looked professional until you put them under light. The technician returned with a receipt and a timeline. "Expedited is 36 to 48 hours, he said. "Results by email." Caldwell took the paper without blinking. Maya stood. Outside, the night air hit her face like a reset. Caldwell walked her to the SUV, still carrying himself like a man on a mission. At the passenger door, Maya paused. "Do you have any direct line to hospital security?" she asked. Caldwell frowned. "I have people," he said. "But the hospital has its own system." Maya nodded slowly. "If this comes back positive," she said, "it becomes a security issue as much as a medical one." Caldwell's eyes sharpened. "And if it comes back positive," he said, "Whitaker has been doing it inside a military hospital." Maya held his gaze. "Yes," she said. They drove back toward the base in silence. When the hospital lights came into view, Maya felt her throat tighten again. She was walking back into the place where she belonged and did not belong at the same time. Caldwell stopped near the same service area where they had met, not close enough to draw attention, but close enough to drop Maya off without a long walk. Maya opened the door. "Mr. Caldwell," she said. He looked at her. "Do not eat or drink anything offered by staff." Maya said, "Not until we know." Caldwell's brow furrowed. "You think I could be a target?" he said. Maya did not soften it with false reassurance. "I think whoever can do this is capable of making choices that do not follow logic," she said. Caldwell's face went pale. He nodded once. Maya stepped out and closed the door. She watched the SUV disappear into the dark, then turned toward the hospital. Her badge felt heavier again. She took the back corridors, avoiding the main entrance. She moved like she belonged there because she did, and because she needed anyone watching to believe she did not have secrets. In her apartment later, she sat at her laptop and stared at the blank search bar. Her fingers hovered above the keys. She typed the name that had been lodged in her mind since the smile through the glass. Aaron Whitaker. Maya's fingers hovered over the keys, then dropped with purpose. Aaron Whitaker. The name looked ordinary on the screen, the kind of name that belonged on a holiday card list or a unit roster. Her laptop fan whined as if it disapproved of the hour. Outside base housing sat under a haze of heat and distant highway noise. Inside, Maya had the uneasy feeling she was committing a crime by asking a question nobody wanted asked. Search results came back thin. Privacy settings. Locked profiles. A nurse who understood discretion. Maya tried variations, adding San Antonio, adding Brooke Army Medical Center, adding RN, adding the word memorial. That one caught. A public tribute page, simple and quiet, created years ago, and still gathering occasional comments like dust. A photo at the top showed a teenage girl with a bright smile and tired eyes. Beneath it, a name. Hannah Whitaker, age 19. Cause complications of Wilson's disease. Maya felt her stomach tighten as if her body recognized danger before her mind could label it. Wilson's disease. Copper accumulation. liver failure, neurodecline, psychiatric shifts. It read like a shadow version of Savannah Caldwell's chart. Maya clicked through condolence messages looking for dates. 8 years ago, almost to the month, Elena Caldwell died. She sat back, the chair creaking under her, and let the pieces settle in her mind. Her pulse was steady, but her skin felt cold. A nurse with a sister lost to a rare disease. A patient declining in a way that looked like that disease. A father who said the nurse was always there. Always. Maya opened medical resources she trusted. Not blogs, not forums, not anything that smelled like rumor. She pulled up clinical references, review articles, case reports. She scanned the symptom clusters, the progression, the markers. Wilson's disease had a logic. Genetics, transport proteins, copper that built up because the body could not move it where it needed to go. It was treatable if caught early. It was devastating if missed. Savannah's chart was a museum of missing. Consult notes written by brilliant people who kept circling the same dead ends. Normal imaging, inconclusive genetics. A toxicology screen stamped clean and filed away like a solved problem. Copper was not always part of the routine conversation. Copper was not the first suspect in a building that ran on protocols. Maya leaned forward again and searched more narrowly. Copper toxicity. Chronic exposure. Mimicking Wilson's. One case report led to another. Not common, not routine, but real enough to exist in the literature, real enough to be somebody's nightmare. External copper exposure could produce a clinical picture that looked eerily similar, especially if it happened slowly. It could punch the liver first, then creep into the nervous system. It could make a teenager seem unstable, confused, exhausted. It could make seizures look like bad luck. Maya's eyes dropped to her notebook. She wrote copper at the top of a page. She drew 3 short lines beneath it. Nails, wrist mark, Hannah Whitaker. She stared at the words until they stopped being ink and started being weight. If she was wrong, she was building a monster out of coincidence. If she was right, the monster was wearing scrubs. Her phone buzzed. Grant Caldwell. Still awake. Maya's thumbs moved without hesitation. Yes. A reply came almost immediately. She woke up. She is asking for Whitaker. Maya sat very still. For a moment, her mind tried to accept the phrase the way a normal person would. She woke up. She is better. Good news. Then, the other part of her, the part trained for battlefield medicine, corrected the instinct. Good news was never just good news when the timeline did not match. Maya typed back. How long? Who is with her? Caldwell's response came in fragments as if he was walking while writing. 20 minutes. Mercer in the room. Security in the hall, staff calling it improvement. Maya stood so fast her chair rolled back and tapped the wall. She grabbed her keys and her ID, then paused at the door with her hand on the knob. Mercer's order rang in her head again, clean and absolute. You will not speak to Mr. Caldwell. Maya left anyway. The drive to the hospital was short, but it felt longer because she spent it rehearsing what she could say that would not sound like paranoia. In her mind, she kept seeing Savannah's fingernails, those pale bands, like a quiet calendar. A body did not reverse 6 months of decline in 20 minutes without a reason. In the parking lot, she moved with her head down and her shoulders square, the posture of someone who belonged. Her badge opened doors with a chirp. The corridor air changed as she neared the ICU, colder, sharper, more controlled. She heard it before she saw it, the layered hum of machines, the clipped voices, the disciplined urgency of staff who had seen too much and still showed up. Grant Caldwell was outside room 304 just as she had left him in her mind, but he looked different now. Not softer, tenser. A man pulled tight by a thin thread. A private security guard stood near the door, broad and still scanning the hallway. The guard's eyes found Maya, then flicked to Caldwell for confirmation. Caldwell gave a small nod. Maya stopped beside him, careful not to touch him. careful not to be seen as part of his orbit. "She is awake," Caldwell said. His voice tried to carry relief, but it came out brittle. "First time she has been lucid in weeks." Maya looked through the window. Savannah was propped up on pillows. Her face was still pale, but her eyes were open and tracking. Colonel Mercer stood at the bedside checking vitals with a posture that suggested cautious optimism. A nurse adjusted the bed controls and offered Savannah water. Maya's gaze went to Savannah's hands. The bands were still there. The room did not look like a miracle. It looked like a pause. Whitaker Caldwell said again, quieter now. "Savannah keeps asking for her. She says it is important." Maya's mouth went dry. "Where is Whitaker?" she asked. Caldwell's jaw tightened. "Off shift," he said. They tried calling her. No answer. Maya felt a cold line run down her spine. Mercer stepped out of the room a moment later. He saw Maya immediately. His expression did not change, but the air around him did. The way it did when a superior officer decided the conversation was going to hurt. "Lieutenant Reed," he said. Maya did not flinch. "Sir." Mercer's eyes flicked to Caldwell, then back to her. "I told you not to insert yourself," he said. Caldwell's voice cut in before Maya could answer. He had the kind of authority money brought, but he used it like a weapon that was starting to shake in his hand. "She asked for that nurse," Caldwell said, "and the nurse is gone." "Does that feel normal to you, Colonel?" Mercer's jaw tightened. His gaze stayed locked on Maya as if Caldwell's words were background noise. "You are not assigned to this patient," Mercer said. "You are not to be in this corridor." Maya took a breath and kept her voice even. "Sir, I need 30 seconds, she said. "Alone." Mercer's eyes narrowed. Caldwell leaned forward slightly as if he might argue, but Mercer held up a hand toward him without looking. "Mr. Caldwell," Mercer said, measured. "Give us a moment." Caldwell's nostrils flared, then he stepped back 2 paces. His security guard stayed close. Mercer moved Maya a few steps down the corridor away from the window. "You are playing a dangerous game," Mercer said quietly. "You do not understand the institutional blast radius if you are wrong." Maya met his eyes. "I understand," she said. "And I understand the clinical blast radius if we ignore what does not fit." Mercer's mouth tightened. "She is awake," he said. "Her vitals are improved. That is a good thing." "It is an abrupt thing," Maya replied. "And she is asking for Whitaker specifically. The nurse who has been the constant factor in her daily care." Mercer's gaze sharpened. "You are still chasing this," he said. Maya's voice dropped almost a whisper. "I looked up Whitaker," she said. "Her sister died of Wilson's disease." Mercer's expression flickered. It was small. It was enough. Maya continued. "Wilson's disease is copper," she said. "Savannah's symptom profile matches copper toxicity. Liver injury, neurosymptoms, psychiatric changes, seizures. Routine tox screens often do not include targeted copper studies unless someone suspects it." Mercer's eyes stayed cold, but his posture shifted subtly, the way a commander shifted when new intelligence arrived. "You have no proof," he said. Maya nodded. "Not yet," she said. "But we have a lab running a metals panel now. Properly collected samples with consent." Mercer's gaze snapped harder. "You did what he said." Maya held her ground. Her father requested an extra tube during routine collection and provided outside testing consent, she said. "I did not order it, I did not sign it, I advised." Mercer's mouth tightened into a line that could cut glass. "You were told not to speak to him," he said. "I did not seek him out," Maya said. "He sought me, and Savannah is still dying." Mercer's silence was heavy. Then he said, "Why are you here now?" Maya glanced back at the window at Savannah's pale face at the bed that had held her for 6 months. "Because I do not trust this timing," she said. "If Whitaker is involved and she believes the investigation is close, she will not leave Savannah awake long enough to talk." Mercer's eyes narrowed further. "You are suggesting the patient's improvement is staged," he said. "I am suggesting a pause," Maya replied. "A pause that creates access." Mercer stared at her. For a long moment he looked less like a physician and more like a man making a tactical decision with limited data and no good options. He finally spoke slower. "Savannah is asking for Whitaker," he said. "If Whitaker comes back, she will be welcomed because everyone thinks this is recovery." Maya did not nod. She did not smile. She simply said, "Yes, sir." Mercer turned his head toward the security guard outside the room, then toward Caldwell. The calculus was visible in his eyes now. "If you are wrong," Mercer said, "you will destroy a nurse's career and yours." Maya's throat tightened. "If I am wrong," she said, "I will accept whatever discipline you deem appropriate." Mercer leaned closer. "And if you are right," he said, "we have a threat inside my hospital." Maya did not look away. "Yes, sir." Mercer took a breath, then spoke as if he were issuing orders in a field tent. "Mr. Caldwell," Mercer called. Caldwell stepped forward, eyes blazing with the need to be useful. Mercer held up a hand. "Your daughter is improving," Mercer said. "I am not discharging her. I am not reducing monitoring. I am moving her." Caldwell blinked. "Moving her where he asked." Executive Wing, Mercer said. "Restricted access. Private suite. Registered under a different name." Caldwell's face shifted, confusion and hope crashing into each other. "Can you do that?" he asked. Mercer's eyes stayed hard. "I can do it if I decide it is necessary for patient safety," Mercer said. "And I'm deciding it now." Caldwell turned to Maya. "This is you," he said. Maya did not answer him. She watched Mercer, waiting for the rest. Mercer continued, voice clipped. "Only 4 people will know the room," Mercer said. "Me, Mr. Caldwell, 2 nurses I choose personally. Everyone else will see the old room as unchanged." Caldwell's mouth opened, then closed. "You are talking about a decoy," he said. Mercer did not flinch. "I am talking about controlling access," he said. Maya felt her pulse spike. The idea was bold. It was also the kind of move that belonged in a military building more than a civilian hospital. Mercer turned to her. "You get 24 hours, he said. Not 48, not a week. 24. If your outside lab comes back with nothing relevant, you are done here." Maya's voice came out steady. "Understood, sir." Mercer's gaze held hers for a beat longer. "And Lieutenant Reed," he added, "you will not touch the patient. You will not write orders. You will observe and report to me only." "Yes, sir." Caldwell looked like he wanted to argue, to demand to control the situation with money and force. Mercer's posture made it clear that would not happen. Caldwell swallowed his words and nodded. The transfer happened after midnight, when the hallway traffic thinned and the hospital shifted into its quieter rhythm. Savannah was groggy, her eyes half open, her words slurred as if she were walking through water. Maya watched from a step back while Mercer coordinated. 2 nurses Mercer had selected, both older, both calm. Both, with faces that suggested they had seen chaos and refused to be shaped by it, moved with deliberate precision. A transport team rolled a gurney down the corridor. A respiratory therapist managed the oxygen. A security detail cleared the path. Savannah's eyes found her father. "Dad," she whispered, voice thin. Caldwell leaned in close, his forehead almost touching hers. "I am here," he said. Savannah's gaze drifted unfocused. "Aaron," she murmured. "Where is Aaron?" Maya watched Caldwell's face tighten, then soften into something that looked like comfort. "She is not here right now," he said. "You just rest." Savannah frowned, trying to hold a thought that kept slipping. "She has something," Savannah whispered. "She said she would not let me suffer." Maya's hands clenched at her sides, hidden in the shadow of her scrubs. She forced herself to keep her breathing slow. They moved Savannah into the executive wing, a part of the hospital that felt like a different world. The lighting was warmer, the carpets muted footsteps, the doors required special clearance. The nurses' station was smaller, quieter, staffed by people who looked more like security than caretakers. Mercer keyed in access, the lock clicking open with a sound that felt final. Inside the suite, Savannah was settled into a bed that looked less like a battlefield cot and more like a place where someone was expected to recover. The windows were larger. The blinds were drawn. The room smelled of fresh linen and something faintly floral, a carefully curated calm. Mercer spoke low to the 2 trusted nurses. "No one enters without my authorization," he said. not even staff who outrank you. If anyone asks, the patient is asleep. If anyone pushes you, call me. Immediately. The nurses nodded, unbothered by the gravity. They had probably survived worse than paperwork. Back in room 304, they built the illusion. Maya did not take part in it directly. She watched from the doorway as Mercer and the nurses worked. A training mannequin was brought in from the simulation center dressed in a hospital gown. In low light under blankets, it held the shape of a sleeping teenager. The lights were dimmed. The monitors remained still humming and blinking, still making the room feel occupied. A security guard remained at the door, posture relaxed enough to be believable, alert enough to catch the wrong movement. Maya stood in the corridor and watched the scene settle into place. It felt unreal, like the hospital had become a stage and everyone had agreed to perform without acknowledging it. Mercer stepped out, closing the door softly. He looked at Maya. "This is not a game," he said. "I know," Maya replied. Mercer's gaze flicked down the hallway. "Your outside lab," he said. "How long?" 36 to 48 hours on paper, Maya said. "Expedited. They may send preliminary sooner." Mercer's jaw tightened. "Then we hold the line," he said. Caldwell emerged from the executive wing a few minutes later, moving like a man who had been told to sit still while his house burned. His security guard stayed close, but Caldwell's eyes stayed on Maya. "She talked about Whitaker," Caldwell said quietly. "Like she trusts her." Maya nodded once. "That is how access works," she said. "Trust is the door." Caldwell's voice broke slightly. "She asked for her," he said, "like she needs her." Maya kept her tone controlled, but her words were careful. "Sometimes the person closest to a patient becomes part of the patient's world," she said. "That does not prove anything by itself." Caldwell stared at the dimmed door of room 304. "It proves she can get close," he said. Maya did not disagree. In the executive suite, Savannah drifted in and out of sleep. Caldwell stayed, but he did what Maya had asked earlier. He acted normal. He spoke softly. He did not stare at the door like he expected an attack. The effort looked exhausting, like pretending calm was harder than panic. Maya sat in a chair near the wall, far enough to respect Mercer's boundaries, close enough to observe. She watched Savannah's breathing, the subtle tremor in her hands, the way her eyes sometimes tracked toward the door, as if expecting someone familiar. A nurse adjusted an IV drip and checked vital signs without fuss. The room held a quiet tension, like the pause before a storm that refused to announce itself. Mercer stepped in once, checked Savannah's pupils, listened to her lungs, reviewed the medication list on the screen. His face was unreadable. He looked at Maya. "Anything he asked?" Maya shook her head. "Not yet," she said. Mercer nodded and stepped back out. Hours stretched. The hospital's night rhythm continued around them, distant codes and rolling carts, and muffled intercom calls, all of it happening outside this sealed pocket of quiet. Maya's phone sat in her hand screen dark until she tapped it awake again and again. Inbox, no new mail. Messages, nothing. She watched the clock. She watched the door. She watched Savannah's hands. At some point, Savannah opened her eyes and fixed them on Maya. "You are Army," Savannah whispered. Maya leaned forward slightly. "Yes," she said. "I am." Savannah swallowed with effort. "Aaron said the Army knows how to end suffering," she murmured. "She said you do not leave people behind." Maya felt her throat tighten. She kept her voice gentle. "We take care of our people," she said. Savannah's eyes narrowed faintly, trying to hold on to the thought. "She said she would not fail again," Savannah whispered. "She said her sister begged." Caldwell's head snapped toward the bed, his face drained. Maya kept her expression neutral, but every nerve in her body lit up. "What did she say about her sister?" Maya asked softly. Savannah's eyelids fluttered. "She said Hannah looked like me," Savannah whispered. "Same age, same hair." She cried. "She said she sees Hannah when she looks at me." Caldwell's hand gripped the back of the chair knuckles, whitening. Maya's mind tightened around the words. Not metaphor. Not casual comfort. Identification. Replacement. A grief line pulled so tight it became a weapon. Savannah's gaze drifted. She said she would make it peaceful. Savannah murmured, "No more fear." Maya's voice stayed steady. "Rest," she said. "Just rest." Savannah's eyes closed. Caldwell looked at Maya as if she had turned on a light in a room he was afraid to enter. She said that he whispered. She said she would make it peaceful. Maya nodded careful. "It is not proof," she said. "It is information." Caldwell stared at the wall, breathing shallow. "I hired security," he said. Quietly, "They think it is for media." Maya nodded again. "That helps," she said. Caldwell's eyes were wet, but his voice carried steel. "If Whitaker did something to Elena," he said, "and now she is doing it to Savannah, I want her buried." Maya held his gaze. "Let evidence do its job," she said. Caldwell's jaw tightened, then he nodded once like a man swallowing something bitter. Maya checked her phone again. No email. In the dim light of the executive suite with Savannah asleep and Caldwell standing guard, Maya sat still and listened to the building. It hummed with power and policy and people trying to hold chaos at bay. She stared at her inbox until the screen dimmed, then tapped it awake again. No new mail. She breathed in, slowly tasting disinfectant and coffee and the faint scent of fresh linen that tried to make the room feel safe. Then she kept watching. The inbox stayed empty long enough for the room to start feeling like a sealed compartment in a ship. Quiet, controlled, and still taking on water. Maya sat with her phone in her hand until the screen dimmed, then tapped it awake again. Caldwell stood near the window, his reflection a dark shape layered over the faint city lights outside. The two nurses Mercer had chosen moved in slow, practice cycles, checking lines, checking numbers, keeping their faces neutral, as if neutrality itself were part of the medication. Savannah slept in shallow waves. Sometimes her brow tightened, as though she were trying to surface. Sometimes her lips moved with no sound. Her hands lay on the blanket. Thin fingers relaxed nails, pale under the warm light. The bands were still there. They did not fade with sedation. They did not care about optimism. Mercer returned near 3 a.m. He did not speak at first. He looked at the monitor, then at Savannah's face, then at Caldwell. His eyes paused on Maya like a compass checking north. "Any change?" he asked. "More lucid earlier," Caldwell said. "She keeps asking for Whitaker." Mercer's mouth tightened. He turned his attention to Savannah again, then to the door, then to his own phone. He had the look of a man holding 2 maps at once and not liking either route. Maya cleared her throat softly. "The lab," she said. They said 36 to 48 hours. Mercer did not answer her directly. He nodded once as if acknowledging an unpleasant weather report. He stepped out again, without ceremony, leaving the room to the slow drip of time. By 4, Caldwell's shoulders sagged with exhaustion. He sank into the chair by Savannah's bed and held her hand, careful as if her skin might bruise from being loved too hard. His eyes stayed open even when his body wanted to fold. Maya watched him then, forced her gaze back to the task. She checked her phone again. Still nothing. A few minutes later, one of the trusted nurses approached quietly. Her name tag read Harlow. Her voice was low. "Lieutenant," she said, "do you want coffee?" Maya almost said no out of habit. Then she realized her hands were trembling slightly. "Yes," she said, "thank you." Harlow returned with a paper cup. The coffee tasted burnt and weak. It still felt like oxygen. Maya's phone buzzed again. This time it was not Caldwell. New email. Her pulse kicked. She opened it with the hands that suddenly felt too big for the screen. Preliminary results. The message was short, clinical, and heavy. Copper was elevated well beyond expected range. Pattern suggested chronic exposure. The lab recommended immediate clinical correlation and reporting. Maya stared at the words until they stopped being letters and started being certainty. She stepped out into the hallway so her breath would not sound loud in the suite. The executive wing was quiet, carpeted, muffling footsteps like it was trying to keep secrets. She dialed the lab number. The technician answered on the first ring voice, calm in the way people sounded when they had already decided the facts were not negotiable. "This is the lab," he said. "This is Lieutenant Dr. Reed," Maya replied. I received preliminary results. You got them, the technician said. Good. Whoever that patient is, copper is markedly elevated. This is not dietary. This is not incidental. It looks consistent with ongoing exposure over months. Maya pressed her back to the wall, eyes on the ceiling tile seam, as if it could hold her steady. Are you certain? She asked. The technician did not sound offended. He sounded tired. We do not send language like this unless we are confident, he said. Your hair sample supports chronicity. The blood supports current toxicity. There is a pattern. Maya's mouth went dry. Could it be Wilson's disease? She asked. The technician paused. I cannot diagnose Wilson's from this alone, he said. That is a clinical call. But if you are asking whether this could be deliberate, whether someone could drive copper levels upward over time, yes, that is possible. And the pattern is concerning. Maya closed her eyes for 1 second, then opened them. Send the full report as soon as it is finalized, she said. It is already queued, he replied. Lieutenant, we are required to report suspected poisoning. This is a legal obligation. We will notify the appropriate authorities. Maya swallowed. I understand, she said. She ended the call and stood still for a beat. The carpet under her boots felt too soft, too polite for what she was holding. She forwarded the email to Mercer using the secure hospital address he had given her for the 24-hour window. Her fingers hesitated over the send button, then pressed. The message left her phone like a shot. She turned and walked back into the suite. Caldwell looked up immediately, reading her face before she spoke. Maya did not drag it out. The lab found elevated copper, she said quietly, high enough that they flagged it as concerning for chronic exposure. Caldwell's grip on Savannah's hand tightened. His breathing stopped for half a second. So it is real, he said. Maya nodded once. It is real, she replied. Caldwell's face shifted, grief and rage colliding without space for either to fully form. Someone did this, he said. Maya kept her voice steady. Yes, she said, and the lab is obligated to report. Caldwell's eyes flicked to Savannah, then to the door. Mercer, he said. Where is Mercer? As if summoned. Mercer entered seconds later, phone already in his hand. His face was controlled, but his eyes had sharpened in a way Maya recognized from code situations, the moment the case stopped being theory. He looked at Maya. I got your email, he said. Maya nodded. Mercer stepped closer to the bed and glanced at Savannah's monitor. He did not touch her. He did not soften his posture. He simply absorbed the reality and turned his attention outward. Mr. Caldwell, Mercer said, voice clipped. We are involving hospital security and military police. Now. Caldwell stood so fast the chair scraped the carpet. Find her, he said. Find Whitaker. Mercer held up a hand. We do not do this loud, he said. We do this controlled. If she is guilty and she senses a shift, she will run. Caldwell's jaw clenched. He looked like he wanted to argue, then forced himself to swallow the impulse. Mercer turned to one of the trusted nurses. Lock this suite down, he said. No one enters without my authorization. If anyone claims they were sent by Whitaker, you call me, and you do not open the door. The nurse nodded once, already moving. Mercer's phone rang. He answered on the first ring. Yes, he said. He listened. His expression changed not into panic, but into something colder. He glanced at Maya, then at Caldwell. She is at room 304, Mercer said. Caldwell's face went white. What he asked. Mercer's voice stayed flat. She just arrived. She is asking to see Savannah. The guard says she is carrying a syringe. For a moment, the suite seemed to tilt. Maya's ears filled with a dull rush. Caldwell made a sound that was not a word. Mercer snapped his phone shut. Maya, he said, stay behind me. Mr. Caldwell, you do exactly what I tell you. Caldwell stepped toward the door like a man stepping into a firefight. I'm not staying back, he said. Mercer did not argue. He issued. You're not going in first, Mercer replied. If she sees your face, she will change her behavior. You will compromise the only clean moment we have. Caldwell's hands curled into fists. He nodded once rigid. Mercer turned to the security guard outside the suite. Notify military police, he said. Now. Tell them suspected attempted homicide in progress. Bring cuffs. Bring body cameras. The guard moved immediately, voice low into a radio. Mercer looked at Maya again. You have your proof, he said. Not admiration, not apology. A statement of fact that carried weight. Maya nodded. Mercer opened the suite door and stepped into the hallway with the posture of command. Maya followed one step behind Hart, hammering so hard she felt it in her throat. Caldwell followed them, face carved into something that looked like stone, trying not to crack. The walk from the executive wing to the ICU corridor felt longer than it was. The hospital at night was a maze of low light and half-heard voices. Their footsteps were muffled by carpet, then sharpened again on tile. The smell changed from fresh linen back to antiseptic and metal. The air grew colder as they moved closer to the machines. Maya kept her eyes on Mercer's back. His shoulders were squared. He moved like he was walking into a room he had cleared 100 times. When they reached the ICU corridor, the tension was visible even before the door. A guard stood near room 304, posture loose enough to look normal, jaw tight enough to show he was not relaxed. His gaze flicked to Mercer. She is inside, the guard said quietly. She did not notice anything yet. Lights are dim. She is at the bedside. Mercer nodded once. Did she speak? Mercer asked. The guard's eyes flicked. She is talking like the patient is asleep, he said. Soft voice. Calm. Caldwell's breathing came hard through his nose. Maya could feel anger radiating off him like heat. Mercer raised a hand, halting them. Mr. Caldwell, Mercer said, stay at my shoulder. Do not speak until I do. Caldwell nodded, eyes fixed on the door. Mercer looked at Maya. Are you steady? He asked. Maya forced her voice to stay even. Yes, sir, she said. Mercer placed his hand on the door handle. He did not throw the door open. He did not announce himself. He opened it with a controlled quiet like he was entering a room that might explode. Room 304 looked exactly as they had left it. Dimmed lights. The shape of a body under blankets. The monitor hum providing the illusion of life. A shadowed corner where the guard had been posted. Erin Whitaker stood beside the bed with her back to the door. Her posture was gentle, almost tender. Her hair was pulled back neatly. Her scrubs were immaculate. One gloved hand rested near the bed rail as if she were comforting the patient. The other hand held a syringe. Maya's skin went cold. Whitaker's voice was low and soothing. I am here, she was saying. I told you I would come back. I told you I would not let you be alone. Caldwell made a sound like a restrained growl. Mercer lifted a hand, stopping him. Mercer reached to the wall and snapped the overhead lights on. Bright light flooded the room, stripping away the softness. Whitaker froze. For one heartbeat, she looked like a nurse caught in a private moment. Then her eyes dropped to the bed, and her expression shifted as comprehension hit. The blankets were too stiff. The shape beneath them was wrong. The face was not there. Whitaker touched her. Slowly, her gaze landed on Mercer first, then on Maya, then on Caldwell. She did not scream. She did not run. Her face settled into a calm that felt rehearsed. Colonel Mercer, she said evenly, this is an unusual hour for a visit. Mercer's voice was steady. Step away from the bed, he said. Put the syringe down. Whitaker's eyes flicked toward Maya. She smiled. Not warm this time, controlled. Lieutenant Reed, she said. I heard you were reassigned. Maya did not speak. Mercer took one step closer. Put it down, he repeated. Whitaker glanced at the syringe as if surprised it was still in her hand. It is medication, she said, ordered. Mercer's eyes did not change. Then you can put it down, he replied. Whitaker's gaze slid to Caldwell. Mr. Caldwell, she said softly. Your daughter asked for me. I came as soon as I could. Caldwell's voice came out rough. Where is she? He demanded. Whitaker's calm finally cracked the edges. Her eyes darted back to the bed, to the mannequin, then to Mercer. Where is Savannah? She asked. Her tone was still quiet, but something sharper had entered it. "What did you do?" Mercer's voice stayed flat. "She is safe," he said. "From you." Whitaker's lips parted slightly. Her eyes narrowed. "From me," she echoed. "I have been with her for months. I have kept her alive through seizures and pain and fear." Maya felt Caldwell's body tense beside her like a drawn wire. Mercer held the line. "You are holding a syringe beside a bed that you believed contained my patient," he said. "Explain that." Whitaker lifted the syringe slightly as if considering whether it was worth arguing over. "She needed something for anxiety," Whitaker said. "She has been terrified. She wakes up trapped in her own body and everyone keeps poking her with needles and calling it care." Caldwell stepped forward despite Mercer's hand. "You do not get to talk about care," Caldwell said, voice shaking with controlled rage. "You have been poisoning her." Whitaker blinked once. A real reaction. Not to the accusation, but to the certainty behind it. "Poisoning," she repeated. Her tone turned almost offended. "No, you are confused." Maya watched Whitaker's eyes. They did not look like the eyes of someone caught in a lie. They looked like the eyes of someone who believed her own story. Mercer's phone was in his hand. He held it up, screen glowing. "We have lab results," Mercer said. "Copper is elevated well beyond normal range. Chronic exposure. Your patient does not have a mystery illness. She has toxicity." Whitaker's gaze flicked to the screen and back. "Copper," she said as if tasting the word. "That makes sense." Maya's breath caught. Whitaker's face softened in a way that made Maya's stomach turn. "She is progressing exactly like Wilson's disease," Whitaker said. "The timeline. The neurosymptoms. The way her liver began to fail. It is classic." Maya spoke for the first time, voice controlled. "Wilson's disease is genetic," she said. "It is not acquired from nowhere." Whitaker's eyes fixed on her. "Genetics are messy," Whitaker replied. "Doctors miss things. Specialists miss things. 20 experts missed what was in front of them." The words landed like an insult wrapped in truth. Caldwell stepped forward again. "Stop," he said. "Stop hiding behind medical words. You did this. You did the same thing to Elena." Whitaker's composure shifted. A flicker of anger rose, then got buried under a calm surface. "Elena Caldwell," Whitaker said. Her voice changed slightly like the name opened a door. "Your wife." Caldwell's jaw clenched. "You were there," he said. "You were one of her nurses." Whitaker's eyes did not drop. She did not deny it. "I was young," she said. "I believed in this place. I believed money and influence would fix what disease breaks." Caldwell's voice sharpened. "My wife died," he said. "And you are standing here with a syringe next to a mannequin pretending it is my daughter." Whitaker looked at Caldwell with something that looked like pity. "She suffered," Whitaker said. "For months. Just like my sister suffered. You watched her, and you did nothing." Caldwell's face went rigid. "What did you just say?" he asked. Whitaker's calm began to unravel into something raw. "Hannah was 19, she said. She begged for relief. She begged to stop feeling like she was drowning in her own body. Wilson's disease does not kill you quickly. It takes its time. It makes you watch yourself disappear." Maya felt Mercer's presence beside her, steady and tense, ready to move if Whitaker did. Whitaker's eyes shone now not with tears yet, but with pressure. Elena Caldwell had money. Whitaker continued. Resources. Connections to every research foundation on Earth. She hosted a fundraiser when Hannah was already dying. She stood on a stage and talked about awareness and screening and hope. It was a beautiful speech. People clapped, cameras flashed. Whitaker's voice dropped. Hannah died before the money ever reached anyone who could use it. Caldwell's throat moved as he swallowed. "Elena tried," he said. "She tried to help." Whitaker shook her head slowly. "Too late," she said. "Too late is the same as nothing when you are the one in the bed." Maya's skin prickled. The motive was sharpening into focus, not a simple desire to harm, but a twisted equation of blame and grief. Mercer kept his voice measured. "Put the syringe down," he said again. "Now." Whitaker's gaze slid back to the bed. She asked for me, Whitaker said softly. She trusts me. She knows I understand. You understand, your sister Maya said. Not Savannah. Whitaker's eyes snapped to Maya. You think you know anything, she said. You read a chart and you think you found a villain. You have no idea what it is to sit by a bed and watch someone you love dissolve. Maya did not move. I have watched people die, she said. In uniforms and out of them. I have watched families beg. That does not give anyone permission to decide someone else should die. Whitaker's mouth tightened. For a second, her expression looked like someone hearing a foreign language. I was not killing her, Whitaker said. I was ending it before it got worse. Before she reached the point Hannah reached. Before she begged. Caldwell's voice broke through low and furious. You were ending it, he said. You were ending my child. Whitaker's eyes flicked toward him. She was going to suffer. Whitaker insisted. You think because you have money you can buy a clean death. You cannot. Disease does not care about your contracts. Maya's gaze dropped to the syringe again, then to Whitaker's hand. Her grip was steady. Too steady. Mercer shifted slightly. He was closer now within reach. Whitaker noticed the movement and lifted the syringe a fraction, not in threat but in reflex. Do not, Mercer said, voice like steel. Do not move that hand. Whitaker's eyes widened a little, then narrowed. The calm started to fracture. Underneath it, there was fear. Not fear of being caught. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of losing the story she had built to survive grief. I took care of Elena. Whitaker, said voice trembling now. I sat with her when she could not sleep. I watched her ask why treatment was not working. I watched doctors talk around her as if language could hide the truth. I watched you hold her hand, Mr. Caldwell, and promise she would get better. Caldwell's face contorted with pain. And then she died. Whitaker continued. And I thought finally someone like her will understand what Hannah felt, what I felt. She had the power to help. She had the money. She waited until it was good for a speech. Maya's stomach turned at the way Whitaker framed it. It was not logic. It was a wound demanding repayment. You poisoned Elena, Caldwell said. Whitaker's lips parted. For a moment, she looked genuinely confused, as if the word poisoning did not fit her internal narrative. I did not poison her, Whitaker said. I guided her toward peace. Mercer's eyes hardened. That is murder, he said. Whitaker flinched at the word. Her composure cracked, fully tears finally spilling. No, she said. You do not get to call it murder when you let people suffer every day. Maya felt the room tighten, the air thickening as the conversation approached a cliff. Outside the door, boots thundered on tile. Radios murmured. The sound of organized force arriving. Military police entered first, 2 officers in uniform, hands near cuffs, body cameras visible. Hospital security followed, faces tense, eyes sharp. One officer spoke to Mercer. Colonel, he said. Mercer did not take his eyes off Whitaker. Secure her, Mercer said. Do it clean. The officers moved in. Whitaker's head turned toward the door, hearing the boots, seeing the uniforms. Her face flashed with panic. No, she said. No, you cannot. The officers approached with controlled speed. Aaron Whitaker, one said. Set the syringe down. Hands where we can see them. Whitaker's gaze darted, and for a half-second Maya thought she might try to bolt. Not toward the door, toward the bed, toward the mannequin. Toward the illusion of finishing what she believed was mercy. Mercer stepped in, blocking her path. Put it down, he said again, and his voice left no room for negotiation. Whitaker's hand trembled. Her fingers loosened. The syringe slipped from her grip and hit the floor with a small plastic clatter that sounded far too quiet for what it represented. The military police closed in and guided her arms behind her back. Cuffs clicked. Whitaker began to cry, not like a criminal caught, but like a person whose delusion had been ripped away too fast for her mind to catch up. She would have suffered, Whitaker said, voice breaking. She would have begged. I was trying to make it easier. Caldwell stepped forward. Mercer's hand shot out again, stopping him. Caldwell's face was wet now. He did not wipe it. "You killed Elena," he said, voice low, "and you tried to kill Savannah." Whitaker looked at him as she was turned toward the door. Her eyes were red wild with grief and certainty. "Elena could have saved Hannah," she said. "She could have saved her if she cared soon enough." Caldwell's jaw clenched. "My wife cared," he said. Whitaker shook her head, tears falling. "She cared when it made her look good," Whitaker said. "Not when it was ugly and quiet and urgent." The officers let her out. As she passed, Maya Whitaker's gaze locked onto hers. For a moment, Maya saw the nurse she had been on the surface calm and capable. Then she saw the fracture beneath it. The grief turned sharp, the obsession wrapped in the language of compassion. Whitaker's voice dropped to a whisper as she passed. "You think you saved her," she said. "You do not understand what you are saving her from." Maya did not answer. She watched Whitaker disappear into the corridor, escorted by uniforms and radios, the hospital suddenly loud with consequence. The room was left with the mannequin and the bed blankets still pulled up like a child tucked in. The decoy looked obscene, now a prop exposed under harsh light. Mercer exhaled slowly, shoulders dropping a fraction. He turned to the guard. "Lock this room," Mercer said. "No one enters. Preserve everything. Security will take the medication cart and the waste bin. Pull access logs, cameras, badge entries, all of it." The guard nodded, already moving. Caldwell stood frozen, staring at the bed, as if his mind was still trying to reconcile the sight of a syringe beside a fake body. He looked like a man who had been holding a building on his shoulders and finally realized it was on fire. Maya stepped closer to him, careful. "Mr. Caldwell," she said softly. He turned his face toward her. His eyes were hollow. "She was smiling," he said. "All these months. She was smiling and talking like she cared." Maya kept her voice steady. "Access looks like care," she said. "That is why it works." Caldwell swallowed hard. "I want to see my daughter," he said. Mercer nodded once. "We are going back," he said, "now." They moved through the corridor with military police in their wake, radios crackling quietly. Staff stepped aside, eyes tracking, sensing the shift. The hospital did not ask questions out loud, but it watched. It always watched. In the executive wing, the door opened with clearance and quiet. The trusted nurses were where they had been, calm, alert, protective. Savannah slept. Her breathing was still shallow, but her monitor numbers looked steadier than the night before. The room felt warmer than the ICU, softer, but now it felt like a bunker with nicer walls. Caldwell crossed to the bedside and took Savannah's hand again, careful as if touching her might make her disappear. Maya looked at Mercer. Mercer's face had changed, not soft, focused. "We treat this as confirmed copper toxicity," Mercer said, voice low to avoid waking Savannah. "We consult toxicology immediately. We get hepatology. We begin appropriate therapy and supportive management now." Maya nodded, absorbing the shift. The case had stopped being a riddle and become a mission. Mercer turned to one of the trusted nurses. "Call toxicology," he said. "Now. Tell them the lab has confirmed significant copper elevation with chronic exposure. Have them meet me here." The nurse moved without hesitation. Mercer looked back at Maya. "You were right to push," he said. It was not an apology. It was an acknowledgement delivered like a report. Maya felt her throat tighten anyway. "I did not want to be right," she said quietly. Mercer's gaze held hers. "I know," he replied. He stepped closer to Savannah's bed and checked her pupils again, then her pulse, then the chart on the screen. His hands were steady, but his jaw was set hard. Caldwell spoke without looking up. "Is she going to live?" he asked. Mercer did not answer with comfort. He answered with realism and intent. "She has been exposed for months," he said. "There is organ injury. There is neurologic impact. But she is young. We caught it before her system collapsed completely. Treatment can work." Caldwell's shoulders shook once. He lowered his forehead to Savannah's hand, eyes closed. Maya stepped back toward the wall again, watching the room the way she watched a battlefield after the shooting stopped, when the silence was not relief, but recalibration. Her phone buzzed. Another email from the lab, this one longer. A formal report attached. More measured language still unmistakable. Elevated copper. Chronic pattern. Recommendations for immediate clinical action. Maya forwarded it to Mercer, then locked her phone screen and held it in her palm, feeling the hard rectangle as proof that something invisible had finally been made visible. Within minutes, the door opened again, and a toxicologist entered, followed by another physician with a folder. The conversation that followed was quiet, clinical dense, with terms and decisions. Maya listened, tracking the logic, relieved to hear the case finally spoken in a language that matched what she had feared. Mercer issued orders in the electronic system, now documented, accountable. The hospital had moved from denial to response. Military police returned briefly to speak with Mercer. Their voices were low. Words like evidence access logs, medication inventory, chain of custody. The building was shifting into investigation mode. Caldwell remained by Savannah, hand on hers, eyes open now, watching every breath. Savannah stirred faintly. Her eyelids fluttered. Her gaze found her father. "Dad," she whispered. Caldwell leaned close, voice shaking. "I am here," he said. "You are safe." Savannah's brow furrowed as if she was searching for a name that had been part of her world. "Aaron," she murmured. Caldwell swallowed hard. "She is not here," he said. "You do not need her." Savannah's lips parted. Confusion flickered across her face. Then exhaustion pulled her back down. Her eyes closed again. Maya watched that small moment and felt anger tighten in her chest. Whitaker had not just harmed Savannah's body. She had colonized Savannah's trust. Mercer stepped toward Maya, lowering his voice. "You did not touch the patient," he said. "You did not order tests. You advised her father. You presented information. That is your defense." Maya nodded. Her pulse was still elevated. Her hands still felt cold. "Yes, sir," she said. Mercer's eyes stayed on her. "You disobeyed me," he said. Maya did not argue. She did not apologize. She simply acknowledged the reality. "Yes, sir," she repeated. Mercer looked away toward Savannah, then back. "Come to my office in the morning," he said. Maya held his gaze. "Yes, sir." Caldwell turned suddenly, as if hearing the exchange for the first time. His eyes were red, his face drained. "They cannot punish her," he said. "She saved my daughter." Mercer's expression did not change. "This is my hospital," he said calmly. "I handle my people." Caldwell took a step forward, anger threatening again, but Mercer's posture stopped him. Caldwell turned to Maya instead, and his voice softened into something raw. "Thank you," he said. "You did not let them ignore her." Maya felt the weight of that gratitude and kept her face steady. "We have work to do," she said. Caldwell nodded once, swallowing whatever else he wanted to say. The suite settled into a different kind of vigilance. Not waiting for an enemy to arrive, but waiting for a body to respond to treatment. The trusted nurses checked lines more often. The toxicologist returned with additional orders. Mercer made phone calls in the hallway, speaking in the clipped tone he used when he needed compliance without debate. In the corridor outside, military police moved past with purpose. Somewhere in the ICU room, 304 would be stripped for evidence. The mannequin removed, the floor photographed, the syringe bag, the badge logs pulled. Somewhere, a staff roster would become a suspect list. Maya stood by the wall and let herself breathe for the first time in hours. The hospital still smelled the same. The fluorescent lights still buzzed. The machines still hummed. Yet the air felt altered, like pressure after a storm front moved through. She looked at Savannah again, at the rise and fall of her chest, at the thin lines of her fingers, at the nails that had started this. A small detail, a quiet pattern. Enough to pull the case out of the fog. Caldwell sat down again, still holding Savannah's hand, staring at her as if he could anchor her to the world by refusing to look away. Mercer returned to the suite and paused near the doorway, scanning the room, counting people, measuring risk the way he always did. His gaze landed on Maya one more time, and in it she saw something new. Not warmth, not forgiveness, a recalibration. He nodded once, then turned back to the bed. Maya remained where she was, listening to the steady beep of a monitor that no longer sounded like a countdown, but like a fragile signal fighting its way back. The monitor kept its fragile rhythm as dawn began to thin the darkness outside the executive wing windows. The hospital never really slept, but it changed shift the way a unit changed watch. Voices lowered. Footsteps softened. Faces rotated in and out with coffee and fatigue and the quiet discipline of people who knew the work did not pause just because the sky lightened. Savannah's chart had changed overnight. The mystery label was gone. The order set on the screen was no longer a loop of repeat tests and polite shrugs. It read like a response plan, purposeful and blunt. Toxicology notes, hepatology consult, medication timing, lab draws spaced like checkpoints. Maya stood near the wall while the team worked. She watched Mercer at the bedside, calm and exact, explaining the treatment in the shortest language possible to keep it clean. "We are starting chelation therapy," Mercer said to Caldwell. "It is medication that binds copper so the body can remove it. We will monitor her liver. We will monitor her heart rhythm. We will support her while the toxin clears." Caldwell nodded, eyes fixed on his daughter's face. "How long?" he asked. Mercer did not give comfort in days or weeks. He gave reality. "Hours before we see stabilization," he said. "Days before we see true improvement. Months before we know what fully recovers. She is young, that helps." Caldwell swallowed hard. His hand stayed on Savannah's blanket, not quite touching her skin, as if he feared even contact might cost him something. In the hallway, military police moved quietly with hospital security. There were no raised voices, no public drama, just a steady extraction of facts. A sergeant asked for badge access logs. A security officer requested medication inventory reports. Someone pulled camera footage. Somewhere in the ICU room, 304 had become a sealed scene. Fluorescent lights harsh over a bed that had held a mannequin for the sake of catching a real threat. Maya heard the questions in fragments as she walked past an open office door. Who entered after shift? Who documented medication changes? Who signed out syringes? Who had keycard access to that wing? The hospital was good at routine. It was also good at quiet damage control. Every door that closed sounded like an attempt to keep the fear contained. Inside the suite, Savannah stirred late in the morning, eyelids, heavy gaze, slow. She blinked at the room like she was waking in a place that felt familiar and wrong at the same time. Her eyes found her father. "Dad," she whispered. Caldwell leaned in quickly, voice rough with relief. "I'm here," he said. Savannah's gaze drifted. Her brow tightened. "Where is Aaron?" She asked, the name fragile in her mouth. The air in the suite tightened. Caldwell's jaw clenched. One of the nurses paused near the IV pump, pretending to check settings. Maya stepped closer to the bed and kept her voice gentle. "Savannah," she said, "you are safe right now. That is what matters." Savannah looked at Maya with tired focus. "You are Army," she said, as if that explained something. "Yes," Maya replied. Savannah's lips parted. The thought she was holding seemed to shake. "She said she would not let me suffer," Savannah whispered. "She said she knows how it ends." Caldwell's eyes closed for a moment. He opened them again and forced his voice steady. "She was wrong," he said. "You are here. You are staying here." Savannah blinked slowly. "She cried," Savannah said, and her voice cracked on the word. "She told me about her sister. She said I look like her." Maya felt her throat tighten and kept her face neutral. "What did she tell you?" Maya asked. Savannah's gaze drifted toward the ceiling. "She said her sister begged," Savannah murmured. "She said she could not watch it happen again. She said she would make it peaceful." Caldwell's grip on the bed rail tightened until the knuckles blanched. Maya watched Savannah's face and listened to the way her words came out not as accusation, but as memory. Trust had been planted in Savannah's brain along with the toxin. Pulling it out would take time. "That was not your burden," Maya said quietly. "You did nothing wrong. Savannah's eyes shifted back to Maya. "Did she hurt my mom?" Savannah asked. The question landed like a dropped instrument sharp against the room's controlled calm. Caldwell's chest rose and fell once hard. Maya did not answer for him. She looked at Caldwell first. His face told her he had no easy version of the truth left. Caldwell leaned in, voice low. "We are going to talk about your mom when you are stronger," he said. "Right now, you focus on breathing and letting the medicine work." Savannah's eyes filled slightly. "Not tears yet, pressure. I feel sorry for her," Savannah whispered. Caldwell's head snapped toward her. Maya stepped in before the moment could fracture. "You can feel whatever you feel," Maya said. "It does not change what happened. It does not change what we do now." Savannah's eyelids fluttered. Exhaustion pulled her under again. Her fingers curled faintly on the blanket, then relaxed. Caldwell stayed by her shoulders, hunched, eyes open. He looked like a man who had been holding his breath for months and still did not know how to exhale. Outside the suite, Mercer caught Maya in the corridor. The carpet muted his steps. His expression was controlled, but his eyes were sharpened by a night without rest. "My office," he said. 900. Maya nodded once. "Yes, sir." He paused as if deciding whether to add something. Then he simply walked away, phone already at his ear, giving clipped instructions to someone who answered with "yes, sir," and immediate compliance. At 900, Mercer's office felt the same as before, hard edges and quiet authority. The only difference was that the blinking phone lines were fewer. Some problems had moved from urgent to managed. Maya stood in front of his desk at attention without thinking. Mercer looked at her for a long moment. "Sit," he said. Maya sat. Mercer did not soften his voice. "You disobeyed a direct instruction," he said. "You involved yourself in a distinguished visitor case after I removed you." Maya kept her gaze steady. "Yes, sir." Mercer leaned back in his chair. "You also prevented an attempted homicide in my hospital," he said. "You initiated a testing path nobody else took. You did it without writing orders or contaminating the official chain of medical decision-making. You forced a safety decision before there was a body on the floor." Maya's throat tightened. She did not speak. Mercer continued, voice still clipped but less sharp. "There will be paperwork," he said. "There will be questions about what you knew and when you knew it. You will answer them directly and without theatrics. You will not editorialize. You will not accuse beyond what you can prove." "Yes, sir," Maya said. Mercer's eyes held hers. "I am not removing you from this program," he said. Maya felt the words land with unexpected weight. "You will return to inpatient service when I assign it," Mercer added. "Until then, you will remain available for interviews with military police and hospital security. They are pulling logs and footage. They will need your statements." "Yes, sir." Mercer leaned forward slightly. "Lieutenant Reed," he said, and the use of her rank made the moment feel like a formal briefing. "Do you understand why I shut you down initially?" Maya hesitated, then answered honestly. "Because without proof, the accusation could destroy trust and compromise the hospital," she said. "And because chain of command matters here." Mercer nodded once. "And do you understand why you pushed anyway?" he asked. Maya felt a tightness in her chest and kept her voice steady. "Because the patient was dying and the pattern did not fit," she said. Mercer stared at her for another beat. Then he said something that sounded almost like an admission. "The hospital is built on routine," Mercer said. "Routine saves lives. Routine also blinds people. The difference is whether someone is willing to see the one detail that breaks routine." Maya remained still. Mercer did not elaborate. He did not turn it into a speech. He simply opened a folder, slid a paper toward her. "A formal counseling statement," he said. "Not punitive. Documented. It will reflect your breach of instruction and the clinical outcome. It will protect you and protect the hospital." Maya picked up the paper and read it. The language was clean, deliberate, written by someone who understood both medicine and the military. It said she exceeded her role. It also said her actions contributed to identification of a lethal threat. She looked up. "I will sign," she said. Mercer nodded. One more thing, he said. Maya waited. You saw Whitaker's behavior firsthand, Mercer said. You heard her words. You observed her at the bedside. When investigators ask you about demeanor, do not diagnose her. Do not speculate. Describe what you saw and what you heard. Yes, sir. Mercer stood, signaling the meeting was over. As Maya rose, he spoke again, quieter. You did not win a contest, Mercer said. You did your job the hard way. That is why you will stay. Maya nodded once. Understood, she said. In the days that followed, the hospital shifted around Savannah's case like a ship adjusting after a hull breach. Staff were reminded about medication handling. Access to DV rooms was tightened. Badge logs were reviewed with new seriousness. People spoke more softly in hallways. Smiles became guarded. Maya was interviewed twice by military police. They sat in a small room with a recorder on the table and asked questions in plain language. When did she first notice the nail pattern? What exactly did she observe during the code? Where did she see the injection mark? What did the nurse say about the mother? Why did she believe copper was involved? Maya answered with facts, only keeping her voice even. She described the smile, the IV adjustments, the way Whitaker seemed to know private conversations, the way she spoke about Mercy like it was a medical order. One investigator nodded slowly when Maya mentioned the timing of Whitaker's arrival to the decoy room. Predatory behavior often presents as patience, the investigator said quietly. Maya did not respond. She kept her eyes on the table. Savannah's improvement was gradual, almost stubborn. The first real change was not dramatic. It was a morning where her vitals stayed stable through a shift change. It was an afternoon where her hand tremor softened slightly. It was a night where she slept without a seizure. Then one day she asked for food. Not ice chips, not broth, food. Caldwell laughed once, a sound that came out broken, and then turned into something almost normal. She wants a burger, he told the nurse, disbelief in his voice. The nurse smiled carefully as if afraid happiness might be fragile. We can start with soft foods, she said. But yes, that is a good sign. When Maya visited the suite, Savannah was sitting up, hair-brushed cheeks, still pale, but no longer gray. There were flowers on the table, too many delivered by people who wanted their care to be visible. Caldwell sat in the chair beside the bed, holding a coffee he never seemed to drink. Savannah looked at Maya when she entered. My dad told me you found it, Savannah said. Maya stepped closer, keeping her voice calm. I noticed something she said. The team did the rest. Savannah's gaze dropped to her hands. My nails, she said quietly. Maya nodded. They tell time, Maya replied. Sometimes time tells the truth before people do. Savannah's eyes lifted again, searching. She really believed she was helping, Savannah said. Maya did not argue. She chose her words carefully. She believed her grief gave her authority, Maya said. That is different from helping. Savannah swallowed. I still feel sorry for her, she admitted. Caldwell's jaw tightened, then softened. He reached out and touched Savannah's shoulder gently. That means you are still you, he said. Savannah looked away, blinking fast. Maya let the moment sit, then shifted back to the practical. How do you feel, she asked. Savannah hesitated, then gave a small shrug. Tired, she said. But clear, like my brain is not underwater all the time. Maya nodded once. That matters, she said. In the hallway afterward, Caldwell stopped Maya near the suite door. His face looked less hollow now, though exhaustion still lived under his eyes. He held an envelope in one hand. I owe you, he said. Maya's posture tightened. You do not owe me, she replied. Caldwell opened the envelope anyway and held it out. Inside was a check with numbers that made Maya's stomach turn, not from greed, but from the sheer scale of what one signature could do. Maya did not take it. I cannot accept that, she said. Caldwell's voice grew rough. You gave me my daughter back, he said. You took the hit when people told you to stop. You did not stop. Maya met his gaze. I did not do it for money, she said. I know, Caldwell replied. That is why I'm offering it. Maya took a breath and kept her voice steady. If you want to do something, she said, do it where it matters. Caldwell stared at her. Maya continued. Your daughter is alive because we caught copper toxicity before it finished its work, she said. And because someone finally looked at a disease most people do not think about until it is too late. If you want to spend money, spend it on screening. Research. Education. The kind of work that makes a 19-year-old not die slowly while everyone calls it rare and shrugs. Caldwell's eyes flickered. The name Hannah did not need to be spoken to live in the space between them. He swallowed. Elena tried, he said quietly. I know, Maya replied. Make it bigger. Make it real. Put it where it cannot be used as a story. Put it where it becomes action. Caldwell looked down at the check, then back up. A foundation, he said, voice slow. Focused on Wilson's disease and metal toxicity screening. Grants for research, training. Maya nodded once. And include military medicine, she added. Our people live around industrial exposures and unfamiliar environments. The system should be able to recognize patterns without needing a miracle. Caldwell's eyes tightened. You are asking me to turn this into something that outlives us, he said. Maya did not answer with a lesson. She answered with a simple truth. I am asking you to use what you have, she said. Caldwell held the envelope for a moment longer, then closed it and slid it back into his jacket. Done, he said. Maya exhaled slowly. In the weeks that followed, Savannah left the ICU level and moved to a step-down unit. The executive suite was no longer necessary. The door no longer needed special clearance. The private security guard was replaced by ordinary nurses and ordinary routines, the kind that felt miraculous because they were boring. On the day Savannah walked for the first time without assistance, Caldwell filmed it quietly on his phone and did not send it to anyone. He just watched it happen, tears in his eyes, like a man who finally let himself believe the world could return something it had tried to take. Maya passed Mercer in the hallway later that afternoon. He stopped her with a small tilt of his head. Lieutenant Reed, he said. Yes, sir. Mercer's eyes held hers briefly. Toxicology says her levels are dropping as expected, he said. Hepatology is cautiously optimistic. Maya nodded. Good, she replied. Mercer paused, then added, The access logs confirmed Whitaker entered that room multiple times when she was not assigned. She bypassed normal documentation pathways. Maya felt a coldness move through her, not surprise, but the hard settling of proof. Mercer continued, voice still clipped. You were right about the threat, he said. Security is rewriting protocols. DV cases are being reviewed across the system. Maya nodded again. Mercer turned to leave, then looked back over his shoulder. Get some sleep, he said, as if it were an order. Yes, sir, Maya replied. That night, alone in her apartment, Maya washed her hands at the sink for a long time, not because they were dirty, but because the ritual helped her come down from the constant vigilance. Water ran over her fingers. She stared at her own nails, pale and unmarked, and felt the strange weight of knowing how much information the body carried in silence. Her phone buzzed once. A message from Savannah. Thank you for seeing me when nobody could. Maya stared at the words until her eyes stung. She typed back carefully. Keep getting stronger. One day at a time. Then she set the phone down and sat in the quiet, listening to the distant hum of the bass, the world continuing, indifferent and relentless. In the morning, she put on her uniform and returned to the hospital. The hallway lights buzzed. The smell of antiseptic greeted her like it always did. People moved around her with coffee and clipboards and fatigue. Somewhere, a monitor beeped steadily, and for once it did not sound like a countdown. Maya walked toward the clinic wing for her next assignment. Her posture straight, her mind still sharp. She did not feel like a hero. She felt like a doctor who had been reminded that details were not trivia. They were survival. At the end of the corridor, she passed a glass door and caught her reflection for half a second. Same face, same badge, a different steadiness behind the eyes. She kept walking.